Hello, good morning. Welcome to Deeksha Online Classes. Last class we completed with classes and objects chapter. Hope you have understood that. And today we'll be starting with function overloading, which is lecture 8. And the weightage of this chapter is 5 marks. First we'll go through the objectives, the definition and declaration. By this time we would have established the difference between what is declaration of a function and what is definition of a function. Okay, and then need. Why do I need function overloading? Because without need I shouldn't be doing it. Example of function overloading and how do I call a overloaded function. See, in the example only we'll have this also. How to call, how to declare, how to define. Everything would be done in a complete programming example. And then restrictions, like what are the things you need to take care when you are writing a overloaded functions, because some, if you are not careful, will give you compiler error. Then inline functions, advantages, disadvantages. What are inline functions and what are the advantages and disadvantages of inline functions and friend functions. So all this we'll be doing in this chapter. We'll start with overloading or polymorphism. As we all know, polymorphism is a OOPS property. So definition of polymorphism. What do you mean by polymorphism? The ability of an operator and a function, that is ability of an operator or a function to take multiple forms, that is more than one form, is called polymorphism. If you remember, I had given you a real life example when we did the basic concepts of C++. The real life example was your teacher who can act as a faculty, a guide, a mentor and a DP. The same person in different situation takes up different roles. That is called polymorphism. So definition of polymorphism is nothing but the ability of an operator or a function to take multiple forms. So there are two types. One is operator overloading and the other one is function overloading. For your syllabus we'll have only function overloading. So we'll start with function overloading then. The definition of function overloading, that is two or more functions having the same name. This is the key here, right? The name should be same. When I say same, the spelling and the case also matters, because this and all the three are different. Even though the spelling is same, this is a combination case, this is full uppercase and this is full lowercase. Since C++ is a case sensitive language, all the three are different. They are not the same. So when I say same name, it also means the spelling, the case, everything has to be same, but they should differ in the number of data types or the arguments passing, or the number, the type. When I say type, it means the data types, that is the number, the data type and the order in which it is passed, the order in which the arguments are passed. If they are different, basically I mean to say if the function signature is different. Function signature is the key in overloading. So we'll see what is function signature. Function signature should be different, then only it is called overloading in the same scope. That is int a comma b and float p comma q. See, the sum and sum is same and then number of arguments are same, but the type of arguments are different. So that is why it is called a overloaded function. Just go through this once. Next, the declaration and definition of function overloading. So we'll start with all the functions in the set have the same name. So the name should be same and different function signature. So what do you mean by function signature? The function signature does not include the return type of the function. The function declaration will have the return type, name of the function and the argument list, whereas the function signature would just be the name of the function and the argument list. So if the function signature is different, then only you can overload it. We'll write down few and then we'll just go through, is it overloaded or it is not. Fine. For example, int sum, okay, can I overload these two? Are these overloaded? See, the return type here is int, the return type here is float. But then this cannot be overloaded because the function signature is same. What do you mean by function signature? Excluding the return type. The function signature does not include the return type. So this is the function signature, this is the function signature. Sum without arguments, the function signature is the same, so I cannot overload it. Please pay attention. You cannot overload a function only based on the return type of the function. See, return type is different for both, that is int and float, but still you cannot overload a function based on that. A function can be overloaded only if the function signature is different. So what is function signature? Function signature is nothing but excluding the return type is the function signature. So here when I exclude the return type, this is sum and no arguments are passed, sum without any arguments, so both are same, that is the signature is same, so I cannot overload it. Next I will say int sum, then int sum float comma int sum int comma float. Can I do this? See, check the function signature here. The function signature without arguments, definitely, yeah. And this two arguments, so number of arguments are the same. Type of the arguments, that is, this is one argument is float, one is int and float. See, the type of the argument and the order in which it is passed. First here to this sum I would pass first an float value and then an integer value. Here I would be sending a int value first and then the float value. So the order of the arguments are different, so it has a different signature. It can be overloaded, and then I can have this also, float and then sum int. So here the number of arguments are different, so I have 3 integer arguments. If I say sum int comma int, then I have 2 integer arguments, I have 3 integer arguments here. And what would be the return type here? If I don't specify anything, the default return type is integer. Okay, void sum int and int. Here the number of arguments, and here the here both here and here it's the number of arguments. Here it is the type, and then here it is the order. So they are different, so they can be overloaded. Here they couldn't be overloaded because the function signature is same. So what is function signature? Function signature is nothing but excluding the return type, whatever is there is the function signature. So the key to overloading is the difference in function signature. Now tell me, is this a overloaded function? Class, let me say calculate. Okay. Private int sum int. Next is int sum int. So is this allowed? This one, where is it declared? It is declared inside a class. So it's a class member function. And how do I access it? Using the object of that class. And what is this? This is the declaration of some function which is a standalone function, because I have not written it in any, it is not inside anything. So when I call only sum and pass an integer value to it, this will execute with an object. When I call, this will execute. But then here I cannot directly call it, I have to indirectly call, because again I have written it in a private section. So this function has to be called in some other. But even though if it was in public also, it wouldn't have given you error, because one is a class function and the other one is a standalone function. But can I have it here as a standalone? Yeah, this will give me error because both are standalone functions. And if I have one more here also, for example, I write it in public, then int sum int, both belong to the class, so they will give me error. What error? Multiple declarations of the function error it will give me. Next, for example, how do I create a, you must have known Typedef. I have done this. If you want to give a new name to an existing data type, that is called Typedef. Typedef is nothing but giving a new name to an existing data type. For example, I have a data type. What is the data type? Typed type def, def, everything in lowercase. That is a keyword for giving a new name to a existing data type. That is nothing but creating a synonym, or a, you are creating one, actually you are just changing the name of it. When you change the name, the structure does not change. For example, I have Typedef and the general syntax is the existing data type and the next is a new name given to it. For example, float. I have a Typedef float real. So what do I mean by that? It means that I have a data type float. Yes, as we all know, we have a data type called float. Then I want to name it as real. So Typedef float real. So if I say float of x and real y, are nothing but both are float of x and float of y only. This is just a synonym, you have renamed float as real. Oh, is this allowed now? For example, I have void sum float, then void sum real. So is this allowed? The signature of the function is sum. It is going to take one integer, one float value argument, and here also it is taking one float value only. I am just giving a new name to the existing one. So it basically means what? Sum of float only. So this again it will not take. That is, if you Typedef and give different name, but then it does not mean it is different. It is just a synonym or a new name to the existing one. So this and this are same, and this signature of both the functions are same, so it will give you a error. It will not allow. Please have a look. So next is advantages. What are the advantages? Before that, we will say, why do I need function overloading? Because without need, I shouldn't be using it. For example, if I'm calculating the sum, okay, sum I can calculate for integer variables, I can calculate for float, long, and real numbers like double. I can have a sum of double numbers also, right? But finally, everything, whichever data type number I add, it is sum only. I am doing the sum of that. So instead, suppose you have to write functions which calculates the sum of different data types. Then instead of naming each one differently, you can overload it so that it performs the same operation, that is calculate sum. Then why do you have to give different names, as it is like confusing and you need to remember all those names? Instead of that, you can overload it. That is the need of overloading, that is giving different function names. Instead of giving different function names to the same operation, you can just give the same name and overload it, because all of that would be taking different set of data variables, and the data type also will be different. So it's easy to name one with a different function. It is easy to have a function with the same name with different signatures, so that you can remember it easier than have functions with different names. That is why we need function overloading. Now we'll first start with advantages. Like we finished to overload a function, Typedef also I spoke about. Next is the advantages. Code is executed faster. Maintaining is easy. Yeah, as we all know, maintaining is easy. And the interface, it's an interface between the programs and the real objects, and easier to understand and debug also, because you can easily remember the name rather than giving multiple different names. Next is the restrictions of function overloading. So what is the first restriction? Like, what are the things you might feel it is different, but then it will give you an error. Compiler will give you an error. So what are those? The function arguments must be sufficiently different. So it has to be explicitly different. There shouldn't be any doubt, since the compiler cannot distinguish which function to be called where. So you tell me, like, why does it give error? Because if the two functions has the same signature, for example, see, I have int sum x comma int x comma int y. See out, okay, x plus y. If I say, then I have int sum int a comma int b. See out, a plus b. Okay. Now in the main function, if I say sum of 10 comma 10, okay, two integer values I am sending. How will it know it should call here or it should go here? I can say a plus plus b plus plus and then a plus b. Here I am just printing x plus y. Here what am I going to do? I am going to increment the a and the b values, that is this values, by 1 and then find the sum. So operation is different, but then how will, during execution time, how will the compiler know which one to call? Because the signature of the function is same, so it is ambiguous, like it will not know which one you want to execute. That is the thing, like the signature of the function should be explicitly different without any doubt. A function argument must be sufficiently different, that is, it has to be different. There should be no ambiguity, which the compiler cannot sufficiently different, since the compiler cannot distinguish which function to be called when and where. If it is not different, then the compiler will not know which function to execute, because as you all know, when the execution happens, only the function call gets loaded. Once the function call is encountered, the linking to the body of that would happen, and then it's loaded into main memory, executed and put back. So it will not know which function to link to. And another thing is, example here, the parameters, if you are passing, here you are passing by value, here you are passing by reference, like int x and ampersand x. Ampersand x will give you the address, x will give you the value, but then these two are not sufficiently different, so the compiler will give you an error message. And similarly, the Typedef cannot, even if you rename the variable, you cannot overload a function based on the Typedef values, as the Typedef of a variable will only be a synonym for it, or the name given to it, but it remains the same. Fine, please go through that. Next, we'll write a program to find the area of a circle, rectangle and triangle using function overloading. Fine. So what are you doing here? I'm going to find the area. So the main thing is, I'm going to find the area. It is same for all, whether it's the area of a circle, area of a rectangle or area of a triangle. I'm going to compute area. So instead of giving different function names, I can name it as area only and pass different argument list. Like I can make a change in the function signature rather than the function name, because it is easier for me to remember. Yeah. So shall we write this program then? So hash include IO stream dot h header file, then I have conio dot h header file, then I have hash include process dot h, header file hash include ctype dot h header file. So these two we already know. I will tell you, I will be using the exit function there. So if I have to use exit, then I should have process dot h header file. The next is ctype dot h. I will tell you when I use the character function of ctype dot h. So that is why I need to have this also. And I will be using the standalone functions here. So the area of, what is the statement? The area of a circle, rectangle and a triangle. So let me declare three functions. So float area, and I will be passing one float variable to it. Float area, float comma float, then I have int area, int comma int. Okay, I have three functions called area, and the name of the function, the spelling, everything, case also is same, but it is different in function signature. So what is the function signature here? It is, you have to exclude the return type, then area, name of the function, and how many arguments I have here. I have one argument here of type float, here I have two arguments, so it differ in number, and here it differs in the type of arguments. So these three are the overloaded functions. With this I will find the area of a circle, with this I will find the area of a rectangle, and with this I will find the area of a triangle. Fine, just go through this and make a note so that we can proceed with the program. Next, let me write the definition of all that. So since it is not a class program, I need not write the return type, scope resolution operator. All this is not required. All these three are standalone functions. So how will I start that? Float, area, and then I have float r. So what is this r? It is the formal parameter. What are formal parameters? The parameters declared in the header of a function. So here I have declared it, and the one which you pass from the calling function is the actual parameter. So here r is the formal parameter. Then what is the formula for calculating the area of a circle? It is pi r square, and since it is going to return in float value, let me say return, what is the value of pi? 3.142. okay, you can say this, or you can write 22/7 also. Star r star r. R star r is nothing but r square. So I am returning pi r square. Okay, where will it go? To the place where it is called, and r is the formal parameter. I am passing, that is during the function call only I will pass this value, and then it will come here, it will just calculate, and after calculation one single value gets returned to the place of the function call. The next was area of a rectangle. So it was an integer one. Int area, int, what is the area of a rectangle? Length into width. So I will say int L comma int W. Okay, so what is L and W? Those two are formal parameters. Area of a rectangle is nothing but length into width. So return L star W. This is the area of a rectangle. And how do I write for a triangle? What was the thing? In triangle it was float, then area, float, base, comma, base into height. Fine. Base and h are the formal parameters. So area, this is for triangle. Again the area function, name of the function remains the same, but the signatures are different, and it is going to return in float value. So we'll come here, return, what is the formula for calculating the area of a triangle? It is half into base into height. So I can say 0.5 into base into height. Yeah, it is going to return 0.5 into base into height. Half into base into height is the formula for creating calculating the area of a area of a triangle. So we calculated area of a circle, area of a triangle and area of a rectangle. The function is area only with different function signatures. Fine. Just hopefully you have made a note of all this. The next is the main. I have to write main. Void main. Clear screen. Okay, after that, since I have to pass the values, I need to declare it here. Take in the values, then only I can pass the values, correct? So first, to take in and store, I need to have the variables of that data types which I need to declare. First I will start with float. So I need one argument for my this one. What is that? Circle r, radius. After that I have two arguments, that is base into height. Yeah, and now I will have int. Okay, what was the integer one? That is length into width, and I will have one more also, ch. Okay, one more integer variable called ch, and I will write one more character variable, choice is equal to uppercase y. Okay, this one I am writing because after finding the area of one thing, suppose if I want to find the area of the other shape or the same, again I need to repeat. Like if I want a repetition, then I should put it in a loop, and then only I will get a repetition. So every time when it exits the loop, it will ask you, do you want to continue? If I want to continue, I should be able to execute it. So that is why I have a one more variable called choice, which has a value capital Y, and it has to be in single quote, and the data type is char. So when I write you the while loop, you will understand it in a better way. And this choice ch is an integer variable, length and width for calculating the area of a rectangle, and then base and height is for triangle, r is for circle. So this one's hopefully you have understood the declarations in main. Now I will say while choice is equal to y. Why did I put double equal to here? Because it has to compare the choice with y. Yes. Do you want to continue? If I say yes only, again it should show me the menu and what operation I need to make. So choice is double equal to y. That is, it is true. Here also make sure the case also matches here, otherwise while will not get executed even once also. Fine. I will start with my while loop. Main starts here. What will I say? Why have I written while? Okay. Cout, I will say menu. Okay. Endl. So it will print me menu cout. After that, 1, I will find the area of a circle. Then cout 2, I will say rectangle. Fine. Cout 3, I will say triangle. Cout 4th choice is exit. So still I haven't. Once you execute this, the user should know like what is in the menu, because you are writing a overloaded function which will calculate the area of a circle, a rectangle and a triangle. But then you should give the choice to the user which one the user wants to calculate. That is why the choice is y. Until this is also uppercase y. I have declared a character variable choice and given it an initial value of uppercase y. So whenever you are giving initial value, make sure that character has to be put in single quotes. If you put double quotes, it will give you error. Like while choice is double equal to y. Why am I using double equal to here and here single equal to? Here I am assigning the value of choice, that is y gets assigned to choice. Here I am checking whether the choice is y or not. If the choice is not y, then it will exit from the while loop. So it's a relational operator which will check LHS, RHS, and it will give you either a true or a false value. Then it will, if this is true, that is to begin with the first iteration it is true because I have already set the value of choice to y. Then what it will do? It will print me a menu, one below the other. It will print me menu, and after that 1 circle, 2 rectangle, 3 triangle, and 4th is exit. Fine. There is no closing bracket here. You please make a note of this. Then I will continue with my main. Now I will start with my switch case. So why do I need a switch case? Because I will have 4 different options to the user. So I will use switch, like 1, 2, 3, 4 are the valid options. And if he chooses anything else, like apart from 1, 2, 3, 4, it's an invalid choice. Fine. And how do I do that? First, I have to ask the user to enter his choice. So cout, enter your choice. Cin ch. Ch is an integer variable which was declared in main in the beginning. Now switch ch. So what is the case 1? 1 is the area of a circle. Okay. Cout, enter the radius of the circle. Okay. After that, cin r. R was the variable declared, float variable declared. So I am asking the user if the case is 1. If the user enters 1 as the choice, the first case, you have to note here, case is in lower case. It's a keyword which is in lower case. Case 1 is the first true value which ch can take. That is, if the user wants to calculate the area of a circle. So cout, enter the radius of the circle cin r. Once it is taken, I need to call the function, right? And then the function is going to return a float value. So when it is going to return, either you should have a variable to store that, or it has to be put in a cout statement. So let me say cout the area of the circle. Okay. Then I will call the function. What was the function? Was area, right? Which is an overloaded function, and this one is the argument I am passing here. This is nothing but the function call. So whatever is returned will be returned to this place. Before that, the area of the circle will be printed, and whatever is the returned one. There you should have in the function I have written return 3 pi r square. That is, instead of pi I have put directly the value, that is 3.142 into r. That would be calculated and returned to this place and printed here. Fine. The next, case 2. What is case 2? That is the area of a rectangle. So how many variables I need to take? I need to take 2 variables. So what are those? Height, length and width. Okay. Cout, enter the values for length and width. Okay. C in L and W. These were the variables which I had declared as integer. Fine. They were declared as integers. Now what will I write? I have taken in the values. Now I need to call that function. So continuation of case 2 is cout the area of the rectangle. Now I'll call the function area and then L comma W. So that variables would be passed there and it would be calculated and returned to this place. That is, it returns an integer value. Next is case 3. So case 3 was area of a triangle. So what is that? Base into height. Cout, enter values for base and height. Fine. Base into height. C in base and H. So I have taken the values here. Now what I have to do? I have to call the function. Again, this function is going to return a float value. So either I should have a float variable to hold that, or I can put it in a cout statement. So I'll just write it in a cout statement. Cout the area of the triangle I'll call the function here area base comma H. Break. So this is the function call. And again function call. Okay. So go through this. 3 is enter the values for base and height, taking that, and then the area of the triangle, this will be printed as it is, and then this is the function call. So whatever is returned here will be printed here, and then I write a break. The same way here also. The next one was exit function, correct? So how do I call the exit function? Case 4, it will stop the exit the application. That was exit function was written in, actually exit functions is written in process.h, so you need to include process.h header file, otherwise it will give you function prototype is required. That is prototype, not the error. When any one of this is not true, you enter 5, 6, 7, 8, any other number apart from 1, 2, 3, 4, then you should write it as default. Cout, what will I say? Invalid choice. Okay, it is invalid choice. Now I will close my switch. Here my switch, but I haven't closed my while here. Only my switch gets closed. While, what I started in while? Before while I had a variable called choice, 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 which was y, capital Y, and then I started this while choice is equal to y. You go on doing this. First the menu was printed, then the user was asked to enter his choice, then ch was the variable which held the choice. Using switch case, 1, 2, 3, 4 choices, based on that you took in the values and called the function. Fine. And nothing is true, like 1, 2, 3, 4, anything apart from that we wrote it in default, that is invalid choice. Now suppose I want to repeat the menu and the execution, like I want to calculate the area of another shape. So how will I do that? Instead of running the entire application again, I can ask the user, cout, do you want to continue? Do you want to continue? Fine. This is inside, this is the end of switch, this is inside while. Do you want to continue? See, in choice, choice is a character variable. Okay. So why do I, and I am closing my while here. Why do I write two uppers? See, for me, I can as a user enter y in the lower case or y in the upper case, but it is case sensitive. So in the statement of while, I have said while choice is equal to capital Y, like I have written it like this, while double equal to capital Y. So as a user I enter lowercase, but I would mean that yes, I want to continue. So what I am doing is two upper is in ctype.h, which will convert whatever alphabet you pass to the uppercase. So choice is equal to 2 upper choice. If I write it in uppercase, it remains as it is. If I write it in lowercase, it will get converted to uppercase and it will be put in choice and it will go back to the header of while. So as long as the user enters true, that is yes, then you can, it will execute again. What will it do? It will show me the menu, then I enter your choice, then switch case until you either press 4, it will go out, or anything else, it will give you invalid choice and then it will execute this. This is the end of while. And end of main. So this is my program. Hopefully you have understood this. So we have come to the end of the function overloading topic. Still we have inline functions and friend functions. So what did we do? What is function overloading and what is an overloaded function? Then the advantages, which functions cannot be overloaded. I don't say which functions, I'll say now what are the restrictions of overloading. Like the Typedef, you cannot use the Typedef as a difference, because it is just a synonym. It is not. Both are one and the same. And why do I need function overloading? And what is function declaration? What is function definition of an overloaded function? And then the function signature, wherein the function signature is the key here. That is, a function signature is something wherein you leaving the return type, the remaining part of the function is called the function signature. So, to overload a function, the function signature should be different. Advantages we'll go through. What are the advantages of it? Code is executed faster, it is easy, and then one more advantage is, like, you don't have to remember many names, because you can use the same name with a different signature. So it becomes easy to debug also, because when multiple names are involved, then it will be difficult, but same name you can easily understand, you can retain that information, and debugging becomes easier. And function does not, the signature of the function does not include the return type, is nothing but function signature. So these are the things what we learned. Now I'll write down the homework questions. Please note it down. What is meant by function overloading? Name one condition to overload a function. Write one advantage of function overloading. Last one. What do you mean by? What do you mean by signature of a function? Please go through this, make a note of it. What is meant by function overloading? Name one condition to overload a function. Write one advantage of function overloading. And what do you mean by signature of a function? These are your homework questions.